Live from the Business RadioX studio inside Renaissance Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
And hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of North Fulton Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and folks, we are broadcasting from inside Renaissance Bank in beautiful Alpharetta. And if you are looking for a bank that's ranked at the top of the heap, and I mean that's definitely the case for Renaissance Bank. If you're looking at surveys that have been put out by Money.com, Time Magazine, Forbes Magazine, they rank banks across the country, across the region, and Renaissance is invariably in the top 10 of those surveys. So if you're looking for a bank like that, a better banking experience for your business than what you currently enjoy, go to renaissancebank.com and find one of their local offices and be in touch. And I think you'll be glad you did. Renaissance Bank, understanding you, member FDIC. And now I want to welcome Wes Rhea. Wes is the author of Off the Top Rope. Wes, welcome.
Thank you, John, so much. It's great to be here with you this morning.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So let's give everyone a little introduction to you and your journey. What have you been up to?
All right. No, thank you again so much.
Yeah.
It's Wes Rhea. I'm the author of the book, first-time author.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you so much. It was quite the journey. It was obviously a goal of mine, and I was able to check that box. So
congratulations.
But yeah, as you mentioned, Off the Top Rope, it's from professional wrestling to the corporate world to the classroom, a journey in faith to career transition, and a little bit of luck. And so what I'm really looking to do is just really trying to help some people. I think my journey was a little different path. Wasn't quite the straight path like a lot of people go from college to this, to this, to this, and kind of took a little detour along the way. So I'm really hoping I really enjoy helping people. And so I'm hoping the story will help some folks, give some people an idea that if you feel like you're stuck somewhere, you've got skills, you can still do what you want to do. And I'm hoping that with that journey I took, maybe I can help some people take maybe a little easier journey. Again, mine was a little bit of a different path than most, but I think what I can tell you is you can get there. It takes some perseverance and, some luck and some skills you may already have, but just trying to really help people, try to reach those goals and reach those positions, those places they really want to be. Yeah,
for sure. Now, let's talk about, professional wrestling. We've got to get to that like straight away, right? So how did that start? How did you get into professional wrestling?
Yeah, that is quite an interesting one. You can only imagine that conversation with your parents after you're graduating from college.
Yeah, I'm sure they were so happy and proud, right?
Yeah, you got a degree and now you want to be what? Yeah, so just real quick, it kind of started, like a lot of things as a kid, right? I was very athletic growing up, played all sports, whatever was in season, played them all. And as a kid, I really had, people would always ask, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And, a lot of kids would be, I want to be a doctor or a lawyer, the president. And I always said, I want to be a professional baseball player, a professional wrestler. And, I'm from the days of Batman and Superman and Spider-Man, the good versus evil. I think as a kid, that's what attracted me to professional wrestling. It was, there's good versus evil, so to speak, or good versus bad. And so as years went on, played sports, played them all in high school, and then gravitated towards baseball, went on and played baseball in college, and went to Kennesaw State University, played baseball there. Really wanted to, that was my goal. I really wanted to, I want to make it to that next level. And actually was, didn't get drafted or anything like that, but ended up having a free agent tryout and found out really quickly how good you have to be. And it didn't work out. So a lot of things I maybe wasn't quite ready, wasn't quite prepared, whatever the case may be. And then ran into a few friends I'd went to high school with who had entered into the world of professional wrestling, and I was very intrigued. Started asking questions, and at the time I was about 6'2". At the time I was about 175 pounds. I don't know what made me think at 175 pounds I would be a professional wrestler, but something did. And so next thing, one thing led to another to introduce me to someone. Went to what would be considered a tryout. And basically, John, I was beaten up for free for about an hour and a half. So,
oh, lovely.
That's it. And after I got done, I said, well, okay, I guess maybe that's over. And then the trainer who was working with people called me over and said, hey, you can get up to 200 pounds. I'll train you. See, you have athletic ability, and that's all I needed to hear. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Dumb and Dumber with Jim Carrey when he's asking for a date, and he says, "What's my odds?" And she's like 1 in a million. He's like, "So you're saying I got a chance?" And that was kind of me, right? You're saying I got a chance. So I went and really put in the work this time. Really put in the work, working out, lifting weights, nutrition, and got up to 200 pounds. Made sure I got a little bit over, called him back, and next thing I knew, I was getting trained, and before you know it, I was, out there.
Wow.
It was a really exciting thing. I was training one day, and then they said, "Hey, tonight you come back, and this will be your first match tonight." And I was like, "Oh wow,
Yeah,
here we go." So it kind of happened somewhat quickly, but it was a very, wouldn't trade it for the world. I still have a few aches and pains occasionally from that. Did about 5-6 years from the late 80s into about the early mid 90s. And then this body couldn't just quite handle it much anymore. So, but yeah, that's kind of how it all transpired.
Wow.
It's kind of an interesting journey getting into that, but it's it was quite the interesting business.
Now you talked about your part of your attraction to this as a kid was you were into good versus evil and that kind of thing. Now, don't tell me you went over to the dark side when you became a professional wrestler. You were still one of the good guys, I hope, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Back then, it was really, anybody that's a fan of professional wrestling now, the lines are kind of blurred, that kind of good versus bad. But back then, it was a little more clear cut. So mainly, was I guess you could say a good guy my whole time. Now, I will have to say there were a few times, it was fun being a bad guy.
That's true.
It was out of character.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Wes Rhea is with us, folks, and Wes is the author of a new book that he's authored called "Off the Top Rope," easy for me to say, from professional wrestling to the corporate world to the classroom. So, what are the business lessons and or career lessons that you pull out in this book from professional wrestling?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. At the time, John, I didn't really think about that, right? At that time, I'm my early 20s, I'm just kind of living at that point, with that. I was fortunate enough before I entered into the world of professional wrestling to graduate. At least I had, I guess, enough sense to listen to my parents and get that done. So I did have that. I had a business degree. Honestly, didn't really know what I wanted to do from that perspective because this is kind of where my focus was. But, after I was in that business for a while, there's a lot of things you do learn. It's similar to kind of what we're doing now, learning how to speak in front of a camera, learning how to present. I think couple of things from not only professional wrestling, but in sports in general, I learned was having to work with someone, teamwork, working teamwork, and using your interpersonal skills and being able to, get along with people. You're not always going to like everyone, right? That's just kind of how life works sometimes, or maybe they don't like you, but you have to figure out ways to work with them. And in professional wrestling, you also have to protect each other, right? Not get hurt,
right?
Or hurt badly. And so learning that, presentation skills, negotiation skills, I had a lot to negotiate my own deals at times, or whatever the case may be. So those skills I picked up, and being in front of crowds. Being able to stay, calm in front of crowds, in front of a TV camera, in front of pretty large crowds as well, So a lot of those skills I was able to say, hey, I can use these as I started winding down my career in professional wrestling. Okay, that is not going to last forever. You're in your 20s.
Right.
You think everything's going to last forever, right? But as you start realizing it was a full-time job just for me to keep my weight on me.
Yeah. Well, so Wes, at a certain point, you decided, okay, I need to transition out. So what what happened? I mean, where were you in that journey, and what led you to the next steps, I guess?
Yeah. I tell you, as I mentioned a minute ago, keeping that 230 pounds or so on me was really tough. I'm not designed that way. And so my body was just starting to get to the point I just can't really continue this. So I started saying, okay, I've got a degree. Let's see, what can I do? I was able to get in the door with a fairly large telecommunication company as I was kind of winding up my professional wrestling career in customer service.
Well, let me ask you a question about that, though. I'm sure, I mean, you had a degree, so you were a serious professional,
right?
But did they take you seriously? I mean, they ask you like, "What have you been doing for the last 6 years?" And you're like, "Professional wrestling." And I mean, how did you handle that moment, right?
Yeah, no, it actually was kind of, you'd be surprised. It's a little fun. I mean, it was intriguing to a lot of people.
Yeah,
right?
Okay.
It was really intriguing. They were like, because I was still a pretty big guy, and that kind of thing. And so, so they were intrigued with that, and I have to say, I think, and at that time, getting in customer service, especially when we were working it was a pretty large company that had 24/7 customer service. And if anybody's ever worked customer service, it's not a job that you go, everybody calls you up every day and says, "Hey, Wes, you're doing a great job today. I just want to call you," right? There's always, and it's a turnover job.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It really is.
Yeah.
So I think
so
I think, I hate to say it, but I was right time, hey, we got openings. Yeah, we need bodies.
Right.
You can work this schedule. Oh yeah, great. Let's go. Right.
Yeah. That's a tough job.
And so it is.
Yeah.
And I have to say at that point, I knew that, hey, I'm not going to go in and be a manager, director level at this point. So it worked out well for me because I got a chance to learn the company from the ground up. I really did. You get to learn the company. I got to learn how to work the system that we were using, and it got me in the door. And a lot of times and I think that's something I talk about in the book is I think sometimes people, especially if you're career transitioning, sometimes you just got to get in the door.
Right.
You might not be able to go from, you might be at a director's level in the healthcare sector, but maybe you want to go into maybe retail or finance. You might have to take a little step backwards or lateral to get in the door and then work your way. And I think that helped me a lot was just, I said, just get me in the door, going back to that. So you're saying there's a chance. Right. So you got me in the door, and I said, get me in the door, and then I can hopefully, work it from here.
Sure.
Show them I'm a hard worker. I'm going to learn. I want to work well with others. I think that's a big thing is really working with people.
Yeah. Got it. And you progressed through various executive level positions. I mean, you ultimately became a corporate compliance officer. You were a chief information officer. You were a chief compliance officer. So talk about that corporate transit or advancement that you went through.
Yeah. And that, I think that's one of the things, again, I hope, John, with the book and really trying to help people and try to help people understand, hey, I can do it. It may not be easy, but you can get there. Right. So, when I started working customer service, I knew this was not going to be a long-term. It's not the kind of job you want to be a customer service rep for 20 years. It just takes a toll on you when you're just doing that. So I started working with the system they were using. Became pretty good at it, and next thing you know, my supervisor would allow me to start training new reps. As part of, I was like, great. So I was pretty good. And then in doing that, I started working with our information technology department because they would give us software releases. And if anybody's familiar with quality assurance or software testing, I became kind of a third eye for them.
Right.
And I'd say, oh, hey, something's here. And then so I started making a connection with that team. And next thing you know, they had an opening. And because of our relationship, I didn't have any degrees in technology. I'm not a programmer and don't want me to program anything. And then they were like, hey, we got an opening. You've been doing a good job with this. Next thing you know, I'm in the technology field, and I'm hitting it about the right time, which was about that late 90s.
Right.
We know the .com was
coming,
absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
So went into that, worked there for a while, then had an opportunity to move on into a management role. And then the dot-com hit 2000, and I was able to, one thing I did learn about technology is the skill is transferable to almost any industry. And that's what I would really say to a lot of people. If you're not sure what you want to do, or somebody just starting out into college, technology can't go wrong most of the time in technology.
Well, say more on that, because, we've got a lot of folks that are out of work right now in the technology space, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And anecdotally, what we read is, a lot of them are getting jobs pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. That's what we're hearing, but say more on why technology and what, from your experience and then others that you've coached.
Yeah, no. And I think the big thing I learned, John, was it's well, I guess you could call it kind of career agnostic, right? I mean, you can start out in, like I was in telecommunications and made a move into healthcare. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're talking
right,
totally different industries. I mean,
sure.
I think in technology, you could go to work for a Home Depot or a United Health Group or,
mm-hmm. Ace Hardware,
any sector just about,
right.
because, it's about that technology,
sure.
that skill. So I think that's the main thing. I think the other thing I would say to most people too is learn about the business that you're going to. I think sometimes some technologists will say, well, I can program in this. So as long as I can program in this, that's all that really matters. Right. Mm. But I think you can make yourself very valuable by learning about Home Depot. How does their business work? Or United Health Group, or whatever that company may be, right? Learn about that business and become valuable. So I think that's important to do that along the way. And I think that's what helped me, I think, is really trying to learn about the business and helped me make those transitions into healthcare from telecommunications. And then a lot of times I think it's, again, going back to people that are become mentors or people that you start working with who are, willing to help you mm-hmm. Along the way too. And that you're showing that you're putting in the effort too, to do it. And I think the big thing sometimes is patience.
Right.
And that's hard.
No, it's very hard. One thing that strikes me though is, you certainly would have benefited, I would think, and this is a question, from your ability to communicate that you learned in wrestling, that mm-hmm. you learned in terms of, like you say, being behind a mic or in front of a camera or in front of all these crowds, because those skills are often hard to find in some technical fields, right? And so if you've got the ability to communicate and you bring technology skills to the table, that's a pretty potent combination, right?
Totally agree with you, John. Mm-hmm. Could not agree more. I think that's the biggest thing I would say to a lot of people. I think that's what helped me when I did end up landing my chief information officer role. It wasn't that I was a hardcore engineer. Mm-hmm. It was that I understood the technology and how it worked and how to work with those folks and how we can get that accomplished. What's driving the business? How can technology help, right? And I've been understanding the business side. I had my MBA by then, and that was probably one of the best things I had ever done. It took a little longer to go get it. I wish I would have maybe done it a little sooner. But at that time, I was in a management role, and that degree started making sense, right? It was
right.
Clicking. It's like, I know why now why you do this or why this is going to help. So no, I would say to anybody in technology, if you have those interpersonal skills or can try to work on them and really get that balance of your engineering skills or your hardcore skills, but understand the business, understand how to say, hey, can we look at it from this direction or this angle? What if we try this, right? Mm-hmm. And here's how technology could make us more efficient, more effective, save some money, earn money. Mm-hmm. That's valuable. I think now what you're seeing is that C-level now, the chief information officer, is that what they, that old term, the seat at the table, right? Mm-hmm. They are there, and it's not uncommon to see those folks go into that CEO role or maybe that COO role with large companies because the technology plays such a big part of what companies do today.
Wes, you've been talking about your career journey, and you kind of leveraged that forward, I guess, in your involvement at Kennesaw State mm-hmm. As a lecturer, professor, and a career coach, which is where I'm going with the question. Yeah. Talk about why that work really resonated with you and why it was you feel so passionate about being a career coach.
No, John, something I've always loved helping people. I really have. It's a passion of mine. And that was one of the main things that drove me to write this book. And I really, when we had that opportunity, our dean at the time was a visionary. She could see that, we need to set us apart in the business school from some others and offer these courses to help students. And really, because I can tell you, going through my college degree, I really didn't. I just listened to my parents and said, get a business degree, and that was, I was at least smart enough to listen to them. But, I think a lot of times students don't really know where they want to go. And I just love helping people. I've had experiences doing this, and I felt like if I could help you now, so you don't maybe make the mistakes I made and make your journey a little more straight, then that was what was my passion and driving. And I think the biggest thing that too, I really felt that helped me a lot too, John, was, I guess for lack of a better word, that term street cred. When I talked to the students, they knew you had this background. You've been at these levels.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe he does know a little bit about what he's talking about. Right. And so I think having that background and being able to say, here's some things you can do. Here's some fields you can do. Here's some internships, maybe even connecting them with some people to talk to, that might have been looking for internships or looking for students in those kind of career informational sort of interviews, so to speak. So I think that really helped me a lot. And I just enjoyed always when a student would come back and say, hey, I've got this internship here and thanks for this advice you gave me. That, that was really, that's not why I did it, but it was just rewarding to know that you've helped people. And that's one of the main things that drove me. I felt like I had those experiences that could really help them and really also let them know the value of learning, continuing to learn.
Right.
You can get certifications. Gosh, it's so much opportunity out there for certification in this online world we live in. Right. Right. So that's why I really just gravitated to them. When they had that opportunity, I was the first to raise my hand. I said, I'd love to be a part of this. And I was fortunate to be able to help get that program up and running there. So it was great. It was great. That's
terrific. So you work with, folks that are in career transition, that maybe need some career planning or something like that. Talk about that work that you do, those services you offer.
Yeah, so I think the main thing I try to really help people with, John, on the career, especially the career transition, is really look at what are you doing now. And I think sometimes people say, well, I'm in this industry doing this, but I'd really like to be over here, but I think they go ahead and just unfortunately, sometimes and I know I've done it, we put the roadblock in front of us.
Sure. And it's self-imposed.
You got it. And we self-impose it. So I try to really look at them and say, let's look at your skills. Okay, you've done this. How can we put that elevator pitch or that picture together to say, I know I haven't been in your industry, but I've got these skills and I've been successful doing A, B, and C. Let's push them into, I can get over here.
Right.
Now you may have to take a lateral. You may even have to maybe take a step back. But if that's where you want to be, you can get there. And I think having certain skills will help you. Maybe go and get a certification. If it's something, maybe you've been a manager, but say you'd really like to be a project manager. There's certification you can get that shows somebody, okay, I've done this kind of work. I haven't really held the title of project manager, but I've done project management work. I went out and obtained a certification. And I think what that'll show people is your initiative. And I think the more initiative you can take, and so really trying to take an inventory of your skills that you have, and let's package that instead of saying, well, I don't have this, this, and this. Let's look at what you have.
Yeah.
And how that can translate or transfer in that other industry.
Yeah. It strikes me what you're saying in essence is let's look at the glass half full, not half empty.
You
right?
got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah. Let's look at what you really have. And I love what you're saying because I think this is so true. When we look at others, we overestimate them, but we underestimate ourselves, right? I mean, in terms of what we have to bring to the table.
John, you're right on. And I think we've all done it.
Yeah.
I know I have when I look at somebody else and say, wow, but then I'll look at, I can't do that,
right.
Because, I think, and then there's always that fear of failure. Right. And I think we have to, be careful with that. And I think one of the, and I think sometimes, discounting that hard work and perseverance, because that person that we're looking at, we think, oh, wow, we see them now, but we don't know what their journey was. Right. I think, the Prince, the, music, Prince, the music artist. He said,
the artist that was formerly known, then known, or whatever, as Prince, right?
I think he said something that was really great. He said, it takes years to become an overnight success.
Right.
And I think a lot of people don't sometimes see that journey or what you went through, but you're right. We have a tendency to look over there, but we don't do that to ourselves. I think that's half the battle. If you can get out of that and start seeing yourself as that person, hey, I can get over here. It may not be easy, but it'll take some time. It's going to take some work. I may have to go back and get some education or some learning or some certifications. I may have to do some networking. I think that's one thing I talk about in the book too, is the power of networking and mentors. And I think that's something that, as you mentioned, take that positive approach. And sometimes it's not, the first one may not work. But
right.
Keep trying.
Yeah.
If that's where you want to be, you're exactly right. And take that glass off of us and, or that lens and how we're looking at others as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Wes Rhea is with us, folks. He's the author of Off the Top Rope, From Professional Wrestling to the Corporate World to the Classroom. Wes, I'm just curious, and folks, I've dipped into Wes's book, and it's really a good book. I highly encourage you to read it, because you'll enjoy it a lot, reading about his journey. But I want to just pull one thing out of that book that you hope readers will take and grasp onto and use for their own journey. What's the biggest thing that you want to have your readers walk away with?
Yeah, and that's a great question, John. And I really think the big thing is perseverance and hope that you can get through these things. Really, really taking stock of what you can do and looking at it from a positive perspective, a strengths perspective. I think a lot of times when we're evaluating ourselves, we always look at our weaknesses, right? And I think what I really try to also get across in the book is really taking the stock of what are your strengths and let's gravitate towards those. I'm not good at anything that's a calculus or ends in a TRY, and I could sit here and try to, all day long, and I'm not going to get much better. But let me look at other areas where I can get better, right? And what I'm already doing pretty well, and how can I improve that? So I really think it's just perseverance, hard work, learning, working with others, connecting with people, networking, mentoring, giving back as well. I think that's always important. Pay it forward.
Right.
I love doing that. I think, especially when you're working with mentors, I think, you don't want to always be that one, hey, I only call you when I need something, Yeah,
right.
So I think really trying to take away from that perseverance, hard work is really, really important. And that if you want it, it's there. It's there. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but if you want it, you can do it. It's just it might be a little difficult journey along the way, or a different approach of how you get there, but it's there if you want it. Yeah.
That's great. Great message from Wes Rhea, the author of Off the Top Rope. So Wes, let's give everyone directions on how they can connect with you, how they can find out more information on the book.
Oh, great. Thank you, John. Yeah, the book is called, as you mentioned, is Off the Top Rope, From Professional Wrestling to the Corporate World to the Classroom, a journey in faith, career transition, and a little bit of luck. And you can go to offthetopropebook.com. The book is actually out on Amazon now for pre-order. It will release on March the 10th. And if anybody has, if you go to the website again, offthetopropebook.com, you can order it off of there. Or if you're interested in some career services or some speaking, I'd love to come and speak to, any organization that might be looking to, have some assistance there, or just come and talk. I'd love to do that too. So go to that site and it'll get you in touch with me or get you in touch with the book. And again, I hope you enjoy it, because I do think it's hopefully a good positive message to help people with their journey along the way.
That's great. Wes Rhea, folks, author of Off the Top Rope. Wes, this has been a lot of fun and very informative and inspirational. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, John. Can't thank you enough for your time today. I really appreciate it. And thanks again.
Thank you. Hey, folks, just a quick thought for you. If you're looking around your back office, and I'm talking about the administrative tasks you've got in your business, your bookkeeping, maybe some of the processes in your business that need work, and if you're seeing a mess there, well, that's taking you away from all your clients and all your prospective clients. In other words, it's taking you away from the revenue side of your business. So let me give you a suggestion on how to tackle that problem. Go to officeangels.us, or better yet, just call the chief executive angel over there, S.E. Escobedo, 770-442-9246, and let her know that we sent you. And what you will find is that S.E. has a whole team of angels that will, she matches up a business owner's support needs with angels who have the talent and experience necessary to handle whatever particular work you need done. And they do that for as long as needed. And that could be a day, it could be a week, it could be a year. Whatever you're in need of, they can supply. So go to officeangels.us to learn more, or again, call S.E. Escobedo, 770-442-9246, and your business, I promise you, will thank you. I use their services, and they're terrific. And folks, speaking of books, I've got a book coming out later this year. It's called In the Summer. It's called The Price and Value Journey, Raising Your Confidence, Your Value, and Your Prices Using the Generosity Mindset Method. If you want to know more about that, go to pricevaluejourney.com. You can sign up to receive updates. You can also get a link to the show archive for the podcast I do with the same name, where we cover a lot of those topics. And thank you, folks, to you, the great listeners here of North Fulton Business Radio, who have gotten us to show number, I guess we're up to 615 or something like that. Over these past almost 7 years, you have been so supportive in sharing the show and giving encouraging words to us and to our guest. And we're just delighted to be able to serve as the voice of business in North Fulton. And we only do it because of continue to do it because of your encouragement. So thank you. We're just so grateful to you. Go to northfultonbusinessradio.com to see a show archive, or if you would like to subscribe on your favorite app and you haven't done so, feel free. Just look up North Fulton Business Radio and you'll find the show, and we'll be honored if you would do that. So for my guest, Wes Rhea, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.